Hello again. This is Kevin and Peter. We are discussing Is Atheism Dead? And now we have reached chapter 3, which is the fine-tuned planet. And we're going to go over basically the arguments for and against design as it pertains to our planet specifically. Next chapter, we're going to kind of examine the wider universe. But this chapter, we're going over why the Earth, I guess, was meant for us. Is that what do you think they might be arguing here?
Yes, basically, the argument is that it's not by accident that things are the way they are. They are intentionally. The Earth, the planet, the universe is basically. Oh well, right now we're talking about the planet Earth, and it is capable to sustain life because
fostered and began life.
Yeah, because it was designed that way. It's not by accident. And scientists have come to this conclusion because at the beginning they thought that there were many universes and it was possible that there's life out there, but they've kind of exhausted. Well, not exhausted. They're still some that are still
Project Ozma with all those radio telescopes. Yeah, but you're right. They haven't found anything. They made a big deal in the 80s when they found WOW. I remember because it comes in as a transliteration somehow with just letters, and they got WOW at one point, WOW, but it's in a series of random letters that came in trillions. So they got really excited at that one thing, but it wasn't really a message when you think about it. Wasn't like
maybe it was like the wind blowing. And
it could be anything, right? If you come up with any random group of letters, you're going to get like mom and all sorts of stuff. Zoo, probably, right? Just takes 3.
Yeah.
But the point of this is like the point is and it seems like atheists are the only ones that believe, I guess, that like our planet might not be the only one that has life. Maybe a life was expounded somewhere else. You're right. We haven't had any sort of contact with any intelligent life, at least on a big scale. There's obviously these cranks, contactees, and I don't know, a bunch of people in the States that say they might have, landed or crashed, but nothing on the White House lawn,
No.
But I think, though, just arguing against the idea, saying that we haven't found any life, so there is no life. It's just like erroneous, or just like not a good way to start. I'm not saying there is aliens, but I'm pretty sure that there are. You know what I mean?
Why?
You're not pretty sure that there are, though.
No.
I know we went over these chapters before, but remember how long that period was from that Big Bang, and it's like we're the only planet in that Goldilocks zone. We can't be. Life is probably unique, like we're unique, me and you, and our planet might be unique, Gaia, whatever you call it. I think it's possible that there might be, different planets or civilizations that don't even require planets. That's one thing I thought about. Maybe some life, in these depths of space, they don't even need planets to live on. One thing goes over in the chapter. One thing that goes over in the chapter is what's his name there, Carl Sagan. And they even ridicule him as like the conditions of life weren't even a lot back then. They're like 2 criteria, right? There was a star like our sun, of course.
The sun? Yeah.
And to be relatively distant, I think, right?
Yeah.
Because then water doesn't evaporate, and you have enough gravity or whatever. The planet has to be a certain size, so it spins a certain way and is heavy enough to maintain certain elements.
Yeah,
it's like carbon and something with nitrogen. I know we need that, but it seems like a mathematical equation that you could like duplicate. To me, it's like life either came here. Well, life might have come here, let's say, on like an asteroid or a couple of times in an asteroid. Like I don't see why we're anywhere related to like a spider. Let's say makes more sense that we gravitated upwards out of like a lizard, monkey, all that evolution, because we kind of share that 2 hands, 2 feet thing. But like the aliens that we're gonna meet, I think are gonna look a lot weirder. And it's possible. I have these crazy ideas, of course, but maybe we came on a certain asteroid, our type of life, and then a different type of life could arrive, even in the future.
Well, but I mean, like, you don't know.
That's true.
Like,
it is an argument from no evidence whatsoever.
You're not sure. You know,
but it's
like,
induction. It's induction.
From what? You're inducting
Just
from
the probability. Just probability. We're like, because we're saying we're one in a quadrillion. There's nowhere in the whole universe, Milky Way, everything. There's not any other place that we can be suited or could have came up. You know, like, we're still kind of not Eurocentric, but geocentric in that sense. We're not not geocentric. That's the wrong word, but like people centric.
Well, for me, like, I like the idea, like the discovery that all these things that they're discovering that facilitate our existence. All these things are nice. I mean, like, you're discovering that the planet has to be this distance from the sun in order for water and not to dry up. Like, I mean, the gravity of the earth, like all these things that they're discovering, fine, and that shows that we human beings are different from other creatures because we have the ability to actually try to figure out stuff, try to figure out our place in the universe, and for me that puts us in like it kind of like emphasizes the idea of the existence of God and the theory of God, the God theory. So the God theory says that God created everything, and then He created mankind, and then out of all the creatures, it is mankind that is actually intelligent. First of all, it is created in the image of God Himself, who's an intelligent being, and then so we are like second, like we're the one, or we are we dominate on this planet Earth, and so we are able to actually theorize and think in complex ways. So
architecture and our music and
come up
fashion.
So okay, the counter argument, if you basically if you argue that life just existed by accident, so that means you don't attach like value to human life, and at the same and also like this life that we live in, the life that you live is meaningless, so why, okay, or even all these wonderful things that these scientists are discovering, like, okay, we exist because the sun is this distant, there's all this what is it called, magnetosphere that protects us from the solar flares and all that.
Yeah, I like that magnetosphere too.
Yeah, for what? Like, why? Why are we so protected here? Like, why our existence? And because we have this mind, this wonderful mind that can explore all these things, I don't think the end goal being meaningless really satisfies me. It doesn't. It has
doesn't
to
necessarily make it. Does it render it meaningless though? If there's like another planet, let's say, of people that become smart like us and become spiritual beings and maybe even surpass us in spirituality, like I don't even know, but as somebody who would be distant from us in the way that we're distant from animals, let's say, the fact that we how much broader our minds think. If there's another alien out there, he's even more spiritually advanced and probably even have a better conception, I guess, of morality. And if they are religious, then they'll have an even better argument for the existence of God, because they won't know either, no matter how smart you are.
Now,
a super advanced alien being would not.
What's that?
I was just going to say, go on, but I was going to say, like, a super advanced alien being would be no further at guessing at like a religious premise than we are. Let's say they're just like they might arrive at it with like a better intellectuality, but they couldn't answer any questions that we can't answer in that one, in just religious terms. I think.
So, do you know the reason why I really don't like to argue about aliens or the possibilities of other lives out there? It's because for me it just like it messes it really messes everything up if there is, because I'm holding this point of view. And actually, so science like created it created like is it doubt, like it put
sure
like doubt. It made our minds start doubting everything, even sometimes even what is true, at the beginning. Like, basically you have to first doubt it and then test it and then to see how true it is, and so that's why
I'm value in that, I'm sure, though, right? Like,
there is value to that. There is value. It
goes overboard.
Yeah, there is value to that. But I like the idea. Until now, I like when it comes to existence, the existence of God, our place in the universe. Because there's like it's very hard. Like, for example, if you're trying to argue about like time, from time from the first microsecond from when basically when the Big Bang began. If you're trying to look on the other side before Earth was formed, you can't. So basically, like you run into a wall. Like you like it's impossible. Not almost. It's impossible to know what happened before time zero. And for me that because of that, I like to stick with the idea of this being, this mind that existed before time zero and created everything. I'm still confused about a lot of things in this book. Like, you remember where he discusses, the discussion about, I don't know if we should go there or we should still, the discussion about the moon. Is it too early for that?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Because he does kind of, he brings it up, but he doesn't really say.
That confused me, man. I don't know exactly. I need to read a lot to understand.
What he did hit on, though, you can kind of skip it in this, because a lot of the stuff with the moon is not settled. A lot of this discussion, sometimes they're saying it's older than anything in the solar system, and other times they're saying it was, it's not been a part of our the way, I forget the word they use. It's a mathematical term, but the way we go around. It's not been in our rotation for that long, apparently. It's been eons or whatever. I don't know exactly, but these are all books that have very little science to it. What he does hit on, though,
like when I was reading, like how he says, okay, the Earth, that the universe is, they came up with this number, 13 billion point whatever, when that's when the universe was
creation myth, because it's impossible. Yeah, right. They pointed at chalkboard. They said 13.
I really don't know how they come up with that. And I agree. I'm not the scientist. They know how they came up, but I can't just take it from. I can't just read it and believe it from just the way they present it to me. I don't know. And also,
it's a good thing. You're saying it like you're confessing a sin. You're saying, like, I'm open-minded and I can't be easily led.
I don't know how they come up with these numbers, to be honest. 13.8 billion years ago. Okay, fine, all right. And then they are precise. About 4.5 billion years. That's when our planet was formed. And then they talk about
4.5, and then they'll be two guys arguing. No, it's 5. And then for a month they're looking at chalkboards and pointing at stuff. Yeah,
it's like, I don't know what kind of mind they have, that they take that takes them back there. Like, I don't know how they do it. I just can't take it from just reading it like that. I need more explanation. Like, if there is proof, they should put it out there. We should read it and struggle with it.
Maybe
but
their logic is flawed.
If it's just a theory, what I didn't like is that the explanations they give here, he gives in the book. It's like, okay, this is how it happened. Actually, there was this athlete, heavenly body
years ago did this exact which describing it in fine detail too.
The moon, and then at some point they collided, and then they formed the man.
There's like that itself as 100 different things they say about it.
That description is exactly what is in Genesis, where God says on day one, God created this and this. On day two, so I was like, man, no, this I cannot take this. I can't. There's no way I can believe this.
Good.
I want them.
It wouldn't help the premise anyway, right? Like that's
what
I would say.
No, this doesn't change. Well, this doesn't change. It does. Like from the God theory remains supreme, because here we're talking about a being who's capable of doing anything. Anything. I mean, we don't know. No one has ever seen God.
There's no unreality, right?
No one has ever seen God. But
that which could be is.
Logically, if you believe in a God theory, then
miracle worker.
Everything that is explained here, it is possible. It is possible. He can do all things. He can destroy, the Big Bang. He can, just magic trick like this, and then everything pops up. Yeah, but what scientists are trying to do, I don't know. I have no idea. That's my take.
These tangents and stuff. They're trying to figure stuff out, and they really don't know. Even it's actually in the nature of science, really, because they have to go slowly, and they have to find these little blind alleys where they went wrong. They thought there was this thing called ether in the universe, and they thought there was phlogiston in everything that burned. It's just these premises have to be eaten up by reality.
It's as if they're discovering things by accident. It's just like they're groping.
For sure, that's exactly how you would describe science. It's how accidents on purpose.
Yeah.
They're trying to cause accidents to figure stuff out.
Like the same sort of like when one of the evidences of like the Big Bang, that radioactive
radiation, how it's still kind of warm like an oven that was on. Like that, that's pointing at a chalkboard. There's no reality. There's nothing that I can taste, smell, or look at. I understand that's not what math and science is all about, right? But how are you going to convince me, right, of something that it just doesn't jive with me?
Yeah,
the craziest thing about the moon thing, though, and it wasn't really what we were going to talk about or anything, but he does hit on it. And why is the moon, right, even though it's infinitesimal, why is it the same size in the sky as the sun? Like in the book, he kind of lends credence to the idea that God put it that way. Like the moon is exactly. Think about the difference in size, and if it was 100,000 kilometers closer or further away, it would be wrapped up by the sun. When when an eclipse happened, the sun would be all around it. And if it was too big, the moon would be much bigger. I mean, much closer. The moon would black out the sun, and it wouldn't be the same size. But it's the same size in the sky. That boggles my mind. That's a sublime thing. Like that's one of the biggest things that I think about when I think about the moon.
That was interesting.
That was my design.
That was interesting. But yeah, it was interesting. But also, not for the reason. Okay, that discovery. The size of the moon, the distance. I think it's the distance from the moon. Well, what is it? I think I wrote it somewhere.
36,000 or something.
Yeah, like basically the more it's like 400. The number 400 is like the more you multiply, the more distance from the moon to the sun, the wider the sun. The wider the sun gets.
Right.
And so that like when I was like, okay. And from what I got from it, because he later on talks about the eclipse of the the importance of eclipse, for main, like purposely for it, like the description here, what he talked about, they are mainly their importance is just for like what is it? Physics, like the eclipse help us. They help us understand the sun. For example, like they couldn't figure out what those solar flares were, but because the sun is too bright.
That's right.
But the eclipse will help them.
Radios and stuff.
Yeah. So what are you saying? So whatever made the sun and the moon actually had in mind that, okay, these people would want to figure out this.
No, that's the weird part. Like that's what he's insinuating, I suppose, right? Because then an eclipse happens exactly, right? Like the rings just come together, and they're just like one is a piece of sand, and the other one is a gigantic ball.
And what is the purpose for that?
I don't know. That's what's crazy about it. They're like my brain can't, and I don't think there is or an answer that anybody can come up with scientifically even out.
Scientifically, they could come up with anything that has nothing to do with the creation or how things came into existence. This is what I think is that, okay, anybody could observe these bodies and come up with their own conclusion that they want. I think, and
like a Rorschach test, those ink blots that people look at and they're like, oh, that's a guy murdering somebody, and that this is a bus crash with a bunch of kids. Like you can tell when people are crazy when they're looking at this abstract ink blot and they're just like describing violent behavior. It's whatever's in your head. We're interpreting stuff.
Exactly. It's an interpretation. That's because these things, for one, I know for sure that I know what the sun does. I know what the sun does. Sun of course sustains life here. It does a lot of things to our the way we farm. The food. Yeah, there's some minerals that gods for our body. Now I can understand that. That is, we're not going to talk about that, but we try to I like just add other, see it in a different way and just try to, I don't know, man. Well, it was a good
back then, like what you described is a good example. Like even the farmers, let's say 10,000 years ago, they were worshiping let's say deities of the god, like of the sun, because they knew that it was important even then, right? And they even conceived, probably in a way, I'm sure they do, because everybody has creation myths, that the sun would have given birth somehow or been the mother, and the moon is, they always have it rearranged somehow, but there's always celestial objects and the earth is a womb, and that's a good way to think too, to be honest. I don't hate that idea, and Christianity kind of took that too. Like, this is our planet. Like, it doesn't really bother me necessarily that that religious people might be centrically, only thinking about our planet as one, like we're the only place, let's say, that life ever existed. It doesn't bother me because it doesn't hurt me.
Yeah. Yeah, man. This is,
and it's actually a charming thing, because like they're usually pretty nice to their neighbors when you think, that you're the only place you can live in the middle of a desert. That's what I don't like, the idea of the universe being this huge torrential rain, and we're just like this one little canoe at sea. We're the human race and all the animals, like Noah. We're just steering through a huge tempest. I think there's other canoes out there.
I was, there's also there's a part that I read actually. Was this in this chapter where he talks about? Oh yeah, the discussion about. I think it was the discussion about Jupiter and Saturn, like their function, their importance, like they help different asteroids to hit the Earth, so that means that for us to be protected.
They start realizing that like maybe 50, 60 years ago, they started realizing gas giants are probably a prerequisite for another, like they're always looking for other planets that could produce life, right? So they're like, now we can look for gas giant places because they're easier to see. Because you need those gas giants, like he said, because then it exactly does that. It kind of pulls all the asteroids out and kind of deflects anything coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So you need a Jupiter. The problem with Jupiter is if you're a science kind of person, like if you're looking at space.
So in that discussion, where he's talking about deflecting asteroids. He gave an example of he says when he says that there's a time, I think he said 66 million years ago, there was
there was an ice they were talking about in Jurassic Park. Yeah, that's the one that hit Mexico. Yeah,
like the one that killed almost all the 75% of all animal life on the planet. Now, I don't know how true is this.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a theory. I don't know if it's really
so
historical.
Long ago. But there's some evidence that kind of would convince me, and there's this is what I would kind of try to argue for the asteroid thing, not necessarily the extinction, but it does look like that too. The fossil record does look like 2 or 3 times something crazy happened. It could be a virus though. It could be anything. We don't know anything. No bones have survived from any of these times, right? It's just little silicates and sand and stuff. There could have been this high civilization comes, gives itself a virus, kills itself off in 10,000 years. But let's
You know what? This is
it makes a kind of radioactive glass though. Tektites are how you kind of prove that asteroids, huge ones, would have smashed into our planet. It's this very weird substance that is created when a gigantic meteor hits.
So basically the only problem that I have with this piece of information is that, okay, so were there humans then or not?
Likely not.
Likely not. Okay, so then when did humans?
It was like an Etch-a-Sketch, God's Etch-a-Sketch. He just was like, this sucks. We're gonna get humans up here next. He tried with the lizards; they were jerks. They didn't praise him enough. They didn't follow the commandments. They would have had less though, right? Because they have 3 fingers. They would have had 9 commandments or something. So they got rid of them. Sodom and Gomorrah.
Really, I kind of like. I know there's. I'm not saying he's wrong or he's right or what, but maybe there's a part of information. There's some information that I need to, visit to kind of bridge up, like fill this gap, because I still have a problem with the existence of dinosaurs, of which I'm not saying they didn't exist, because we can see their bones, they did exist, but their relationship with human beings. So when do they exist? Because it clearly looks like these creatures would not exist at the same time with human beings.
For sure.
Yeah, because
we were if you follow evolutionary theory, we would have been kind of like small monkey-ish, kind of maybe arboreal at that point, still in the trees, but we're kind of like little ferrets, probably, monkey-ish, but very clever. We survived, obviously.
Yeah, so we couldn't exist at the same time. And the problem is the Bible doesn't say anything about these creatures. That's
You would expect it to, though?
What?
You would expect it to be included in I guess a Genesis or something.
That's what yeah.
Isn't it maybe covered by the beasts in the sea and the fish in the sea? No.
The fish in the sea.
When I forget what day it was, to be honest. I think 6 or 5, whatever. When he created the animals, why wouldn't he have created these? And they just come up and 99% of any species we've ever found has been extinct.
Well, but it looks like so. How would we survive this? Because it says that it took how long? So this killed off 75% of all animal life on the planet, including dinosaurs. Yeah. And I think it says
the Jurassic era.
There was a very long period of time for actually the environment to be normal again, so that life could flourish, could flourish again.
Fill out the little gaps in nature.
Yeah. So
that's actually kind of an answer to your question, though, when you think about it, because there was a dominant species on Earth, right? And for whatever reason, they were extinct. Maybe they piled themselves in cities and they gave themselves, like I said, coronaviruses and died all that way. Or, I don't know, actually. What else could it be? What I mean to say is Actually, I kind of lost what I was saying there.
I think we need to just what scientists need to do. They need to be humble and accept that they don't know.
Right. I like that. You're coming. That's what I was saying from the beginning.
They need to be humble and be like, you know what? Yeah. Well, this is what
but
we
the answer
think.
to your question, I just remembered now. Sorry, I got on a tangent there. The reason why humans came to kind of explode so quickly, I mean, there could be different reasons, but the reason why we filled it out so quickly and mammals did in general is because we were adaptable. Like the lizards, you know, the gigantic reptiles, stuff that rely on heat and sun and stuff. As soon as there was something in the atmosphere that blocked sun for like however many weeks or months that asteroid did, it wasn't really the impact. It wasn't like the nuke that hit them. It was that cloud that killed all the vegetation. All the animals relying on big animals, you know, like all the predators and stuff, they just died off because they couldn't sustain their size and weight. So they shrunk, and all of a sudden monkeys got bigger and smarter. Next thing you know, we're hunting them. We filled out that gap, you know, the way like if you extinct or a good example would be the rabbit in Australia. There was no rabbits in Australia. They bring a couple, now the whole place is rabbits because there was nothing to prevent them from just going everywhere. The environmental degradation.
Let's say, you know, just like the Bible talks about the Garden of Eden, where, you know, he put the first human beings.
Right.
Maybe it was placed, you know, in some place that was really safe. Maybe like the humans that were existed then were really protected from all this catastrophe that happened, you know?
Probably. Most of the oldest bones were all in the Moldovan Gorge or something like that in Africa. Most of the oldest humans, you know, kind of, because they were protected from a lot of stuff. Could be the reason. Who knows, though? That's what the whole thing is. It's this certainty that all science has. I just don't like archaeology with a certainty. Archaeology? I'm sorry.
Exactly. Now, that's the problem.
Yeah, we're gonna go over that, of course, in a later chapter.
That I don't like also, like when they like, you know, that like I brought up that's the description of like how, you know, how the planet Earth, you know, was formed. You know, this story of like, okay, there's this small planet that came and hit it. It was like an asteroid that hit it, and then they got mingled together, and then there's part of it that actually escaped, and then it created. Like now we have like the right size that actually was in the right, you know, right distance from the sun, and the right size to be able to, you know, like with the right
benefit,
you know,
but not you have to be close enough to like draw benefits, but not too close to get vaporized.
Yeah, I don't like that. Like when you start, you know, coming at me like that, then I'm like
splitting hairs, being very specific in your claims. You know,
yeah.
You know. That's why I don't think science is the best bet for religious people, because I'm looking through the chapters. The next chapter we're going to go over, probably going to end soon, but we're going to go over the fine-tuned universe, which is going to be a lot like what we're doing today, but the universe basically spread out further outside the Earth. But that's the whole thing. Like I honestly think that it's a bad castle. It's not smart to build on the foundation of science because it's always changing. First of all, they're not perfect. And I was thinking of this too. I was trying to put in religious terms. If a demon or a devil, let's say, tries to convince you that's of something, right? He's like, he could convince you of all these scientific premises, but you know in your heart, if you're a religious person or if you believe in a moral, you can't be convinced to do something wrong based on this. You can't, like, I don't think you could even, like a devil, let's say, could mess with your telescope and make some crazy stuff be in there, but that wouldn't change your brain into thinking, okay, well, that means God doesn't exist now and there's no good. Like, there's no good and bad in there. I don't think you can attach too much relevance to it. It's a nice idea that we could explain God in material terms and we could pin him down somewhere and go, okay, there's this many angels on the head of a pin or whatever. But like, they're kind of like two in tandem things. Our human brains reach out in like many different directions. One tries to like touch material, the other one's trying to grasp at God's face, you know, like the Plato and Aristotle thing. I think they're two great manifestations, but they're not really mutually supportive. I don't think. I could be wrong. We're not even close to the end.
Yeah. Well, yes, I agree with you. What I see here, like from the beginning, like, I mean, this is just a small part of where I know he's gonna argue more like this, but this part, and also actually, I like the way he kind of like he makes some statements like afterwards, and he's like, this is a mystery, but we are here, and basically this is the way things are.
I wanted to end on this awesome quote, and it kind of said it's the kind of it's supportive of that perfectly. He has a great quote, and he's not even quoting himself. He's just writing. This is part of the book. So it's on page 38. He goes, it's part of a sentence. He goes, atheists have projected their own insecurities onto people of faith and have used their God of the gaps idea as a crutch for themselves because they're too insecure and perhaps too prideful. And I wrote right next to that, that's true. Like you can agree with like a lot of the premises, but you can't really disagree with a lot, at least the majority of people who argue against religionists and support purely atheistic premises. I like that though. I think we can both agree on that, right? Projecting our own insecurities. Anyway, follow us next time where we're going to go over chapter 4, the fine-tuned universe.
Stay tuned.